Welcome to the top of our booth at Heli-Expo 2020. And I'm going to hand it over to Rob Monday, who many of you know on Instagram as Claire de Hoist.
That's me. Thanks for having us. So, yeah, we're here. We've got some guys with a little bit of experience, I would say, around the table here, and we're going to keep it super informal. We're going to ask some questions, get some feedback from these guys, and hopefully laugh at a couple of things along the way. So we do have some questions, but we're asking for questions from the audience as well. If you've got something, throw it out there, and we'll do our best to try and answer the questions as expediently as we can. But I think without further ado, boys, shall we go around the table and just introduce ourselves, where we are, what we've done, and yeah, go from there.
Where would you like to start?
Let's kick it off with Derek.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Good morning.
Do we want to do that?
Yeah, we do. My name is Derek Everett. I'm a winch operator for CHCR. We fly S-92s for the Irish Coast Guard, dual-rated paramedic, all-weather SAR 24/7.
I apologise for the accent.
Subtitles to follow.
Yeah, can you say that again in English? Will Milan with Two Bear Rescue out of Montana. Prior retired U.S. Coast Guard helicopter rescue swimmer. Did my last 14 years in Kodiak, Alaska, and after that, between those two jobs, I was with a private helicopter training and educational company for 8 years. Damn glad to be here.
Thanks for coming. Awesome. So yeah, some of you guys already have followed me in the last couple of years on social media. Rob Monday. I'm currently with Black Crane Helicopters in Vancouver, Canada, or just north of Vancouver. I've done some firefighting before that in Australia. Also did some search and rescue stuff as well, 24/7, offshore, onshore, all various things. I did a couple of years as a marine pilot transfer on a program there in northern Canada, in BC. Will actually helped us out on the training program for that one, which was awesome. And at Black Crane now, loving it.
So I'm Dave Callan, the operations manager and primary flight instructor for SR3 Rescue Concepts. Coming up on 20 years with Las Vegas Metro Police, where flown a lot of day and night rescues in the Huey, the H-145, and the MD-530F models. So a lot of hoist rescues, one skid type towing insertions, and some long line short haul stuff as well. And you can follow me on Instagram at Ariel Bacon.
Did you come up with that name?
I did. It's the only clever thing I've ever thought of in my life. But I own it.
Oh, there's so many places you can go.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I'll just zip it.
Good morning. Tony Weber from San Diego Sheriff's Aviation Division. Been there for 35 years. So that makes me the senior guy of the group.
Senior.
Obviously.
Yeah. That word.
Law enforcement missions, short haul, hoist rescue, and firefighting. I'm currently assigned to the fire rescue program.
Jason Connell. I also work for Las Vegas Metro PD. Dave kind of covered what we do over there for our operations. Work as a hoist operator, rescuer, and a paramedic with our SAR team and our SWAT team.
You work for SR3 too, don't you?
I work for SR3 too.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
That's a good panel. You did well getting this group together.
Right?
Yeah, we covered.
Well
I think
done.
for our first inaugural one, I think everyone would agree we have a pretty solid crew here. So I'm definitely humbled to be part of this. I think it's super cool.
Happy
So,
to be here.
Yep, likewise.
Yeah,
likewise.
Thanks. And again, thanks to Vertical for putting this on for us.
Absolutely.
So we do have a list of questions. We're going to keep it super informal. We'll just kind of get into it, and I think to get things started, we'll go with the big one right off the top. Your most memorable rescue.
Ooh.
Have you done one, Derek? Yeah.
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
It did involve getting up out of bed. I had long and hard thinking about this one. For me, it was night rescue. I was the winch man. Fairly big Russian freighter coming down the Irish Sea, and the engineer on the ship basically shorted out the main circuit board and stuck himself to it. It was a fairly big cargo vessel, so ship ended up losing power. He ended up getting really badly burned, face, hands, and internal. So we got out there, established at night, brought me onto the vessel. Conditions were okay, darkness obviously, and by the time I got down to him, they had him off the deck and up in a cabin. He was a fairly big unit. He was about 18 stone.
Wow.
He was a big
many
man.
pounds is that?
Big,
Like
big,
18
stone?
yeah, big unit.
For the American audience.
Yeah, what is that?
What is that in
How much
English?
is that?
Is that
2.2 in a kg, 2.2 pounds in a kg.
That's not helping us.
So
What is
stone is 4 point something pounds, I think. I don't know, he was over at 240, something like that.
Okay.
Okay, that's
That's
big. That's a big boy.
Yeah.
So conscious, a lot of pain, no broken English. One of the ship's crew was translating, but you could obviously see from the scarring on his face, he had an internal burn in his mouth, his nose, incoherent, and straight into trying to stabilize him to get him out. So they actually walked him up, put him on the table of the mess deck, and left him there. There's only one guy with him. Got everything down, LSC stretcher, water gelled him, secured his airway as best we could, got him out onto the deck. Took 5 guys to move him up the passageway, up the staircase, using his third deck down. Got him onto the deck, and we winched him from about 150 feet at night due to the containers into hospital. And as soon as we got in the door of the hospital, the first thing the anaesthetist said was RSI straight away. It's tube protected. We got a very rare, probably you guys will be the same, you very rarely hear what happens to them after you drop them off. We got word then that he ended up losing I think 2 of his fingers, and he had really bad burns. We were almost welded together. That's how bad he was. So for me, that was the one, because you're on your own, foreign crew, language barrier, at night, big fella to move around and get it all sorted out.
Well, it's the whole gamut too, right? Like you have a medical component to that, you have a technical risk.
Listen, if you were taking him off the deck just as the ship going down, you let the strop do all the work. But with somebody that big, it really is a completely different ballgame, particularly when they're below deck.
Cool.
So for me, that was it. Took long and hard to think about that one, but that was
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was awesome.
We'll have to talk about that later in English.
So you'll have to put up with my associate editor will be on to you.
Right. For me, it would have been, as like you, I had to think long and hard. I had 2 and went back and forth with it. One was in the Bering Sea with the Coast Guard in Alaska, and the other one was off the coast of Oregon, one of my first ones, but I'm going to go with the Oregon one. That was a family of 4 and a couple kids, husband, wife. They were in a skiff in a bay off the Oregon coast. Their motor quit. They tried to get their kicker started. Didn't work, so they dropped anchor. It was on an ebb tide. Their anchor drugged, and they went out over the bar down in Netards Bay, and just south of Astoria, Oregon. Boat flipped. It was 15 to 20 foot surf, dumped all 6 into the water. So we got a report, and we took off, and it was just about getting dark, and we got on scene, and we saw 4 in the surf. Didn't see the other 2 right away, and they were trying to stay together. And you'd see a wave come over. This wave would break over. We'd lose them, and you're looking for heads to pop up. And somebody said, "Rescue checklist part 1 for a rescue swimmer deployment." And I'm like, "What?" And we're not just going to lower the basket. So I jumped out into free fall, which is not something we normally do in the surf. But I was a young kid, just following directions, right? And I get into the water, and I grab the first kid. And they tried to get the basket to me, and it took a couple tries because I'd have the kid, and I'd see this wave coming, and the wave would come, and we'd roll underwater and pop back up, and they got the basket to us, so we got him out. By the time we got him up, I was separated from the other 4, didn't know where they were, so they brought me back up into the helicopter. Went back down, got another kid, a 14-year-old kid. We did a quick drop. I stayed attached to the hook on this one. Come up to the cabin. I'm trying to move him into the cabin. He won't go, and that's when I look down and his pants are hung up on the rail for the door because his pants are turned inside out and upside down, And he's, So we get him off, go back down, and it was the father and a 19-year-old girl, and the 19-year-old girl didn't look good at all. And he was hanging on to her, and he refused to go. He's like, "Take her next." And I'm like, ugh. But so we hoisted her in the basket. Learned a lesson then. When you're putting somebody in a basket, this is the first basket pickup on this one. Putting somebody in the basket, try not to be between the beach and the wave because I ate the basket and put her in it.
It's a rock and a hard place.
So they took her up, and at this point the helicopter is an H-65 Dauphine, and we're working about 500 yards offshore the cliffs of Oregon. And so they flew to the beach, and I could see when we rose up on the waves, I could see all the lights from the fire departments and search and rescue organization. So it was just me and Rick. And I think his last name is Stolheim. So I'm in the water with Rick, and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, my wife, where's my wife?" And I'm like, we'll get to that, but I hadn't seen her yet. Well, all of a sudden he looks at me and he goes, "That looks like a big wave." And I turn around and I can, it's sunset and here comes the set. And I'm like, "Oh." So I grabbed him, like, "Hang on." And I started swimming, trying to get over the wave before it broke. And I surfed quite a bit back then, so I knew we weren't making it over the wave when I could feel the pole.
Right.
And it was a pretty big wave. We went over the falls, hit in the water, and he had a buck snap buckle vest like PFD, and we rolled underwater. And I got to within a nanosecond of letting go of him because I wanted air, because I had just exerted all my air
Getting up the hill.
trying to get up the hill. We rolled, and when we came up to the surface, I vaguely remember I had him like this, and we were probably head to head rolling, and I almost ripped the jacket off of him. And we get up to the surface, now I'm scared. Now I'm like, that was not what I wanted to be doing at that point. And he actually calmed me down, because I'm like, "You all right?" He goes, "Well, that was fun." I'm like, "No, it wasn't." So ended up, they got the basket, they put him down. Then they picked me up because the crew and the bird saw another victim.
Yeah.
So they picked me up in the basket because I put him in the basket. And they just sent the basket right back down, picked me up in the basket, and we slid south. And I could see the kid, and he looked deceased. And I saw the wave, and he disappeared. And we chased him with the basket, and me hanging below, trying to time putting me in the water. Well, all of a sudden he pops up, and I see him, and I was about 6 feet above the water, and I just slipped out of the basket because I was tired of trying to chase him. So I jumped out, slipped out of the basket, got up to him. When I grabbed him, all of a sudden he opened his eyes, and his eyes were pretty much rolled back.
Yeah.
And so I threw him in the basket, and I signaled to the helicopter, "Take him, get him to the beach right now." So they left me there, and I saw them take Rick and this kid. I think that kid was 13. They flew him to the beach. I saw the helo land. They come back. They come, send the hook down, they pick me up, and now we're flying north, and they're not bringing me in. So I thought, oh, they must see the other one. And we came up, and she was like in an eddy, like a rip current, but like it was calm. It was like everything was breaking around. And she was just in her undergarments. So I rolled her over, gave her a couple quick breaths, trying to do what I could, put her in the basket and said, "Just take her." Because by the time they got her out of the basket, I was like, it's a 5-minute flight to the beach. Just get her advanced care. And I'll wait here. And by now it's dark. And I see the helo heading to the beach.
It's really quiet, really quick.
And then I see the helo climb. And then I see the helo disappear over the mountains. I'm like, where are they going? And what had happened is everybody on the beach and the debrief thought everybody was out of the water. Like all the victims were rescued, so they're running off to the hospital. So the helo had nobody to deliver her to. So then they flew up and over the mountains and were gone. And I'm out there.
Oh boy.
Like, now it's dark.
Oh, you're pulling everything.
Yeah, this is-
It's lights, everything.
Yeah, so I'm sitting there. I can't go in because there's cliffs and I can hear the roar, and I'm like, nope. All of a sudden I remember it starting to go up and down pretty good, and then I couldn't see it, and next thing I know I'm rolling in a wave. And so then I just turned around and thought, well, now I gotta get out of the breakers. I don't know how long I swam. It took probably 30 minutes before I got outside the breakers. Got on a radio, tried to call the Coast Guard surf boat that was out there earlier, and they had already thought it was a communications nightmare because they thought everybody was out of the water. Nobody knew I was there except the crew of the helo.
Right.
And then, it was probably 45 minutes to an hour. And before the helo came back, I saw him coming back, and I was launching flares and making it look like the 4th of July. Come get me out of here. And that's when I learned that everybody's bipolar if you're put in the right scenario. Because I was like, calm down, well, they'll be back. Screw calming down. They left you out in the middle of the damn ocean.
There are no atheists in foxholes. That's why.
So the four male victims survived. The one kid, he was in ICU for about 3 days, and the mother and the 19-year-old were deceased.
That's a tough one. That is a big number. That's a hard number.
No, it wasn't.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
That's like the most serious thing I've ever
Yeah, I get a little. Yeah, I get a little.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's
Yeah, I
good.
would too, man.
So on to the next one.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. We had the two big high-speed ones already.
Now I
I feel like mine's gonna be garbage
I
now.
I'm gonna jump in as a.
I gotta come up with a big lie now.
Right now,
don't
somebody
even wanna
I
talk.
know is watching this because they're dialing me out. So whoever it is,
Thanks for that.
let me find out who this
Hey,
is.
you know what that is though? That's karma for the other day when I was up on the stage.
Oh, yeah.
On my cell phone.
yeah,
so
right?
You're welcome.
Oh yeah. So there's Gabe. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Got you, Gabe.
Okay, I guess that's me then.
That's you. You're up.
Well, you know what? I thought I have to admit I kind of threw myself under the bus because I wrote the question.
You did.
But I used the word rescue, and I honestly think that some of the hardest hoists I've done haven't actually been for rescue. They've been for marine pilot transfer, power lines, whatever else we've done, right? But I will talk about the rescue that I did, and it was actually one of the very first ones. It may have even been the first one I ever did as a hoist operator. So we had a huge flooding event. This is in Queensland, Australia, in 2011. We were in the S76, and I was probably 6 months into this job as a whole. I really hadn't done a lot of rescue or hoisting or anything at that point, and we had this huge flooding event, and I mean water everywhere. Like it was like as bad as it gets for these guys. The rivers had all burst their banks and everything, and we got called out. And you know what it's like in the floods. You're just out there looking for people, and it's a bit of a shit show. You don't really have a lot of direction, but we went out there, and basically a river had burst its banks. There was just water everywhere. Truck, ute for us, a pickup truck, was driving along the road, got washed off the road, swept down probably a couple of 100 meters, so quarter of a mile, something like that, downstream, and it was getting pushed pretty good. And the only thing that stopped it got pushed up into a tree, and it was during the day, thankfully, because it would have been an absolute nightmare to try and figure something out at night. But we got out there, and this truck's in the tree, and it's kind of sketchy, and there's one lady standing on the roof of the truck, typical flood rescue type thing, right? And we had to try and figure out a plan, and this was literally like one of the first rescues I'd ever done. And I was like, oh my God, we have gone in the deep end here. Like, this is not an easy one for the first day.
Yeah.
And we get in there, we're in the S76, we're down fairly low, and then we had power lines to deal with. The truck wasn't super stable. We didn't know how stable it was at that point, but I mean, we ended up putting our rescuer down. He was awesome. There's actually a follow-up story in a minute, but he did an amazing job, got down to get a lot of experience. So he just quick dropped her in, pulled her up, and we did another 4 or 5 that day as well. I think from memory there was quite a few going on, and then the night crew went out and kept working as well. But for me, honestly, that was one of the most challenging, just because of my experience at that time.
Yeah.
Now I'd go back out there and it wouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah,
but I think it was memorable for me because I was like, oh my God, this is like, that was definitely like, saturation at that point for me. I was working. I don't know if you guys saw, it was a huge thing. Like, it was worldwide. It was on the Today Show here in the US.
We were at a conference in Vegas, and one of the pilots from Queensland, the 139 op,
Yes.
he gave the presentation on it.
Yeah.
Right.
The video footage he had.
So it's
was
similar stuff.
It
We were
was
just
the end of
down
world stuff, so it was.
yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's a big deal for sure. I don't know if you guys saw, there was a video that came out of that same incident. They went to do a super similar rescue. It almost sounds the same. Rescue down, pickup truck, family in the truck.
Yeah.
And they were picking up a baby, like an infant. And they didn't have any kind of rescue gear for no strop, no nothing. Right? Like, they had to go pick this thing up. So they grabbed a dive bag out of the back of the aircraft, dished all the gear out of the dive bag, sent the rescuer down with the dive bag. Baby goes in, zips this thing up in the duffel bag, and this was the day after my rescue, in exactly the same location, like hundreds of feet away, right there next to it. And they got the bravery awards that are on the Today Show.
Of course.
They did the whole thing.
I don't hear any spike in your voice at all. I hear nothing in your voice. God damn it.
Man, I felt like I had the hard gig. They went out there and that was it. It was all the glory. So, but you probably saw that one. It's on YouTube. If you Google like baby in the bag, the video is out there and available. So if you want to get an idea of what that looks like, it was the same spot. It was pretty cool. But they did a great job. They killed it. So.
Awesome, man.
That was a memorable one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Right.
Thanks for sharing.
So for me, thank you. I thought same thing a long time about this, and I have some pretty memorable hoist rescues. But for me, the one that I decided to go with was actually a rescue in the 500, and it was New Year's Eve. Not this most recent one, but the year before. So I guess that would be 2019. So working for Las Vegas Metro, that's a big deal for us. Obviously, the city is like getting ready to party, so everybody's at work and nobody has a day off, so we were basically just on standby for rescues and didn't really think we were going to get anything. Just after midnight, we had a call come in that somebody had fallen, a teenager had fallen on a cliff edge out on the edge of town. And the winds are howling, man. They're like gusting mid-30s, 30 to 35 knots. So took a quick look at the weather, decided, we're in policy, we'll give it a shot. So me and my co-pilot, we're on goggles, one rescuer in the back, everybody else goes by ground. So we fly out there, and the only details we had was that a teenager had fallen a pretty significant distance. And the guy calling in was another teenager, who was his friend. And they basically gone up to the top of this hill, way on the edge of Vegas, to watch the fireworks go off. So the information we had was, hey, I saw my friend fall, and I'm up at the top of the train, right? So we fly out there, we see a light at the top of this hill, and it's probably, I don't know, was it super high? Maybe 500-600 feet total. But the cliff edge that he fell was significant. I think it ended up being like 110 that this kid fell. So we see a light just kind of frantically going back and forth at the top, cell phone light. We figure that's the teenage kid, right? So we get up there, we're trying to get better info, so tried to do a one skid on the top of the hill to put a rescuer out to get better info. And we're getting beat up bad, just like updrafts coming up the side of this thing. So I tried a few times and couldn't get the skid on the rock, and put it on one time and got blasted up, and finally told John there was the guy in the back, said I'm not comfortable trying to get you out, man. We're gonna get hurt. So I ended up dropping down, flying around. Some people on the ground had a thermal imager, and they started hitting the train with it, and they saw a hot spot. Told us where it was. It was at the base of this, again, about 110-foot drop. So we end up flying up there, and we spot this kid, and he's laying there. You can tell by the position of his body, he was more than likely not survived. Right? Yeah. So we get in as close as we can. We're probably maybe, 10, 15 yards away. We're looking at it, and we're like, oh, this sucks, man. It's going to be body recovery. So as we're trying to figure out, there's really no room. There's really, really tight edge that he fell on. How are we going to get him out? He starts moving, and then he sits up. Oh, wow. And we're like, holy shit, he's still alive, man. And how did he survive, right? Now we know he's busted up bad, right? So now we're trying to figure out where am I going to put the rescuer out? Because there's really nowhere else to go. And the hoist helicopter was tied up on an event for New Year's Eve, so it wasn't available. We weren't able to short haul, so it was like one skid through it, right? So finally we find a spot, and it's super tight, basically right up at our limits for our policy, very, very tight. And it's basically like a tow-in, and the tail's like right next to a big rock. It's the only place to put them in. So we had a quick discussion, is everybody good with it? I'm gonna give it a shot. So we kind of tuck in there, get the skid on, but it's not a normal one skid, back near where the mast is, where it's nice and stable, it's on the toe. So I plant the toe down, give him the nod, John gets out, makes his way over there, we back off. He does a quick assessment. He's like, all right, hey, I need this, I need all this gear. Like he's tanking, I need all this gear fast. And by the way, I got the other kid down here too. Like, what do you mean you got the other kid? He goes, yeah. His friend, he fell too. He's behind a boulder behind the other kid. So now we're like, well, who the hell's up top? Well, that was one of the kid's parents that the first kid had called, and there's a little town called Blue Diamond behind there. So the dad rushed up there. So the dad was the one up top. The other kid later we found out was on the phone and was looking, trying to see where it was. He got too close, he fell too. So now we're like, holy shit. Send everybody. So now we start showing gear, rescuers, and all that stuff. So eventually we get the Flight for Life guys come in. They land in stage right nearby. We were able to get the first kid who was, they were both critically hurt, but the first kid was hurt really, really bad. So able to get him packaged up, and then we went to load him. The challenge was, again, it's a tow-in. So the skid in the back is probably a foot or so off the terrain. So I'm trying to hold this thing, and it's got, 4 guys, they put the litter in, they're trying to slide it, I'm trying not to move the helicopter for him, but either way, they got him loaded, we got him out. He was severely hypothermic, had, I can't remember what his internal injuries were, but I know he had collapsed lung, a bunch of internal bleeding, just the whole gamut. You can
big
imagine.
sick.
Yeah, I mean, he was really, really sick. So got him out, got the other kid out, ICU for a long time, they survived. And it was awesome. And then the coolest thing was for us, we, like you said, a lot of times we don't ever see these people again. Yeah. He actually came down with his family, and we got to meet him and take pictures, and we actually stay in touch with them.
That's a huge rarity for us.
Yeah.
It is.
Absolutely.
You could break your arse and you'd never see them again.
Yeah.
Or hear
It's
anything
nice
about
when
them.
they show up and thank you.
Yeah, you're right. It's rarely happens.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
One in a
So
thousand.
Yeah.
it was
Good
an
job.
epic New Year's Eve.
So
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And I could see the thing you'd
Good
have
story,
to fight
man.
to, like you were trying to get in, your mindset. It's a body, let's relax.
Yeah.
Let's try to figure out, and all of a sudden, the kid moves.
God, the
That's
damage is
when you got to be
moving.
careful.
Right,
You still got to be careful about that.
And that's a good point, right? Because we talk about like the human factors part of it, right? So, you'd like to say and think that we all would not allow that to change your actions or what you would do, or you talk about maybe pushing it or taking it a little bit too far, and we had to really reel ourselves in.
Oh yeah.
Because we were this close to saying, hey guys, we can't. We're gonna have to try to have you guys hike up, and the helicopter's not an option. But it worked out. But that was an issue.
But you got to keep that.
You have to change your mindset. You've already drawn a picture in your head. This is a deceased person.
Yeah.
Right.
The plan is already formed in your head, and then he sits up,
Yep.
and you're going, okay,
Plan
chuck that plan, new plan.
Yep.
But it still has to be as safe as the other plan.
Exactly.
Correct.
Well, thanks
Tony
for
Weber.
sharing that.
Let's go.
That was awesome.
Thanks, bud.
I too struggled trying to pick the rescue that stood out in my
It better be the one I'm thinking of.
It may or may not be. But it was actually during a fire mission. So we weren't even on a rescue call. It was one of the firestorms in San Diego. If you're not familiar with Southern California, Santa Ana winds. We're probably 3 hours into it, dropping water, 40 to 45 mile an hour winds, and just doing our thing in water dropping.
This is in the Huey.
In the Huey, Bell 205. So we had already deployed our Heli-Tac crew earlier, and again, about 3 or 4 hours into it, and we got fire radios up. And if you've never heard somebody come over the air that they're getting burned over, so it was a fire crew. They drove their crew bus into the fire, they're in the middle, and they're starting to yell over the air that they're getting burned over, deploying fire shelters. And you're hearing that in the helicopter, and it's gut-wrenching. There's nothing you can do. So it gets pretty quiet. They tell us, everybody on the fire radios, emergency traffic only. They're dealing with that now. And they can't even see in there. The smoke, probably a quarter-mile visibility. They get burned over. Air Attack is now asking for 2 volunteers, 2 helicopters to try and get into the center of the fire to see if you can find them. A call when needed, aircraft volunteered, and we volunteered. Could only send in 1 helicopter at a time because of the visibility. Again, less than a quarter of a mile, power lines everywhere. We're staying outside to where we can see. Call when needed goes in first. He finally finds the area, finds the crew bus, loads about 4 people that are severely burned.
Jesus.
He departs. I start following the power lines in. Had to follow it, and it is just thick smoke. I now spot the crew bus, and we land next to it. And the reason it sticks out for me, it was like something out of the Twilight Zone, because I saw the crew bus earlier in the day. It was a new one.
Right.
So we landed next to it. Windows are blown out. It's melted. There's melted metal on the ground. And when we land, the fire shelters are blowing. That they had. If you don't know about a fire shelter, it's like an aluminum bag that they lay down and the fire burns over you. Those are burning all over the place, and they're blowing. And we land, and my guy gets out, and we're looking for 1 extra person. And he's searching everywhere, and it's still burning around us, and he never found them. And we ended up leaving with no victim on board. We found out later that the one we went back to find went back into his house. It was a homeowner, and he got burned up. So fast forward about 5 years later, one of the kids that was on the crew that got burned over is now coming into our Heli-Tac team at Gillespie. 5 years later, he comes up to me and says, I hear you're one of the guys that came in to get us. I didn't know. Wow. And he had got burned over. And he was thanking me as being one of the pilots that went in to try and help him. So again, it's nice that you run into somebody later that comes to thank you for trying to do a good deed. So
Yeah, making that connection.
absolutely. So that's my story.
That's something we never experienced because it's obviously made the film, the one with Only the Brave that came out, that got everybody, and that's in my head. That's what I was thinking.
I was seeing,
Yeah. So I'm thinking you probably don't get a lot of fires in Ireland.
Only when they're smoking the peat for the.
That's all it is, baby.
the biggest
That's the only fire there is.
So,
Jesus, no way.
Appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
I could tell it meant something to you.
it was gut.
I could hear it in your voice.
It sticks in your head.
Jay.
All right, buddy.
Bring it home.
You're up.
Dude, I wasn't there. I'm getting emotional. I'm like, oh, where's the Kleenex?
Way to kill the mood.
We're cutting onions.
Where's the dust? Little dust in there? There's the Hoover.
Most kind of like you guys, there's a lot that stand out. And there's a lot that stand out that I wasn't even a part of, but I'll give you one that I was. So we service a big area, 8,000 square miles, which means we're National Park Service, BLM, Lake Mead. This was probably 8-9 years ago. We still had the Hueys at the time. And how we get the call is it'll go to 911, goes to our dispatch center. Details were a father and his daughter. We're out at Lake Mead. They were hiking. This is in the summer, so it's hot. They were on a cliff, and she had started kind of, when I say daughter, she's probably like 13, 14 years old, had started walking down, slipped, fallen, and was now holding on. Dad can't get to her. She's telling him she's hot, she's dehydrated. I can't hold on. So load up with the pilot, co-pilot. I was one of the rescuers along with one of our other guys, and then Donnie was our hoist operator. It's nighttime, probably 9:30 at night if I can remember. So as we're flying out, it's going to take us probably about 20-25 minutes to get out there. We arrive on scene. Nothing's really changed other than the updates coming in. Dad's calling saying she can't hold on. She's getting tired. And our crew is all people that have kids or no kids that age, and there's urgency to it, right? So we get out there. We don't initially see her. We come over to where the cliff is at, get the spotlight on Dad, and he's got like a 30-foot boat rope. And you can tell where he's tried to throw, so now we know where he's at. Look down, and you see her about 100 foot below, and she's up against the cliff. Right. You're like, oh, and you can just hear it like, oh no. Like, so obviously with the cliff rescues, the Huey's got substantial rotor wash to where she's at. We try to pit a rescue arc first to get above, see if we can set up some type of an anchor system with a rope, just rappel down to her first, get her secured, and then go from there. There's no anchors. It's Lake Mead, there's nothing. So now the conversation is, well, what are we gonna do? Well, we have the capability to do a cliff rescue, but everybody knows you kind of get the one shot. You don't want to bump her off, you don't want to blow her off, and where she's at, she doesn't look like she's doing so hot. So I get the thumbs up to be the rescuer. Thanks, guys. Make the decision to go in, and when I say precision work, like on the crew, between the co-pilot, the pilot, the hoist operator, it couldn't have been any more perfect. I got walked in, super slow, super controlled. Rescue device goes on over. She's pinned up against the wall, cinch. We're coming up, and we're flying away, and everything's dark, and we get up to the ship. We get in, and it felt probably like I just ran 10 miles as fast as I could.
Wow.
So, for us, I mean, obviously when you're on something like that, the inflection of the call, what's going on, the details, and then you physically see it. There was the urgency, but just total awesome crew coordination at night. So that was one of the good ones.
Something I want to add to what he just said, and I think it rings true for all of us. When we're going to any type of rescue call, and you get the details coming in as you're still en route, and it kind of ramps up the sense of urgency. Like he just said, you're putting yourself in that father's shoes. That could be your child up on the side. And I know all of us get that type of info en route. And not only you as the pilot or the rescuer, everybody's kind of getting a little amped up. And when you get on rescue scene, what we do, and you tell me if it's the same for you, kind of calm the situation down again as we're doing our briefs to make sure everybody's good to go and that you're not putting this emergency type feeling for the rescue. Slow it down. Exactly. So it's the same for everybody.
SOPs, brief, take a breath.
Because it's contagious too, right?
It is contagious.
Like it ramps up, and we actually talked about the same thing the other day, and we did a briefing, and the briefing always ends, and it's like, is everyone good with this? Is everyone good? That's the general question. Sure. Right? We're like, why are we asking that? Because the guy in the room who isn't good with it is not going to be the one to be like,
exactly
good. So the question we actually changed a lot of the time now. We ask, is anyone not good with this? Has anyone got a problem with this plan? Is the first guy that puts up his hand, the girl that puts up their hand, maybe actually would not have said something if they've got this peer pressure that everyone else is good, you're the
Exactly.
odd one out, right? So we started changing the way we asked that question.
That's a great tip.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
eh?
and then how
and
many
it
times?
makes so much sense, but
how
you
many
don't
times
think
do you
about
get on a rescue and you're going through your briefs, and the guy that's usually calm and talking slow is now talking a little bit faster,
And that-
you can feel it.
Yeah, right.
You just got to slow things
breath,
down.
It's
Yeah,
true.
take a breath and do it the right way. But thank you for sharing
Awesome.
that. That was awesome.
Should we have a question? The next question? Carry on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm thinking.
Let's do a quick one. Short fire. Boom.
Yeah.
Fire away. So, favorite aircraft you've operated in and why?
30
There
seconds
you
or
go.
less.
S92.
Yeah.
Size, speed, ability, stability,
Yeah.
ergonomics for the crew in the back.
Well, you can stand up.
We winch in the standing up
Dance
position.
buddies.
We've got a ramp.
Good stuff.
It is everything you want and more. I've flown in Dauphins. I've flown in Alouettes and an S61. So for me, S92 all the way.
All
I
right.
believe that. I think it's probably one of the only aircraft out there that I could stand up in.
Yeah.
So if I had
Yeah.
flown in one, I would probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great aircraft.
Yeah, I thought about it. Yeah, I didn't have to think about this one for me. It's dear to my heart. The H-60 Jayhawk with the Coast Guard. 13 years over the Bering Sea with it, flying
Yeah.
in some of the most ridiculous weather I've ever been in, and it always brought me home.
Never let you
So,
down, eh?
Yeah.
Big Iron.
That's
That's what
fair.
we call her.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think, you know what, I've actually flown in quite a few aircraft over my varied career at this point, and by far, I would say the one that's true to my heart, and you're gonna love this.
I know it's what you're saying. I know it's what you're
The
saying.
BK117,
Yeah, I
man.
know
The
it's
one we had for our marine pilot stuff, that thing is a pickup truck. It's not the fanciest machine out there, but it is a powerhouse with the airwork engines in it, the 850s, and that
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. We're Cat A, we can go out there, we can put 9 seats in the back of that thing, and it'll get it done. And it's not fancy, but geez, like bang for buck, which
Yeah.
in Canada is a lot of what we need.
Yeah.
We need lifting power, and we need it cheap, right? Like that's the competitive market that we're in. That thing's amazing. It's by far.
Awesome.
I love that aircraft.
Awesome. For me, I got to go with the H-145.
Attaboy.
So
BK,
you know,
you mean?
Well, yeah, it's the BK-117 D2, I guess. You know, a couple generations down the road, right? But for me, you know, there's two qualities about it. For one, obviously the technology is amazing. Airbus has done an amazing job making a very complicated aircraft very, very pilot friendly and simple to fly. And it does have some advanced features that I had never had with like 4-axis autopilot.
I was going to say 4-axis autopilot.
Yeah,
Any
right?
autopilot.
Game changer. Any autopilot at all, right?
Yeah.
From steam gauge Hueys,
I
right?
wish I had that.
Right? But honestly, the biggest thing for me with that aircraft, if you strip all that stuff away, it is so powerful, it has so much controllability, and it is so stable that we are able to hover on one engine with pretty heavy load at really high altitudes, and it's impressive, the performance of it. We've hoisted several big guys. I don't know how many stone our biggest guy is, but I put him down and picked him up at 12,000 at the top of Mount Charleston.
With a crew on board.
With a crew on board, man, and a fairly full tank of gas.
It's pretty impressive.
Never run out of left pedal in the thing. It's just incredible performance. So that'd be mine.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the
Timeless classic,
Tried and
right?
trusted. Here we go.
Yeah, here it goes.
Those 39 years are going to come out of the
Huey.
table.
The Huey.
Yeah, man.
So we're flying. I fly a Bell 205 A1, also known as the Super Huey. I look at it as like a flying Jeep or a flying tank. We do firefighting in it, hoist rescue. We're landing in the dirt and weeds all the time. We beat it up, and it still keeps on going. For hoist rescue, double ups, lateral CG's great, good power margins. So
I don't think anyone's going to argue with that, really.
that is a great helicopter.
Right.
Jay?
Dave covered it. H145. I love. I love
That was
the.
an easy one.
Hey, no, but we did have the Huey for a
Yeah,
long time, and
great
the thing was
helicopter.
phenomenal. Even our, the MD-530Fs for different reasons, they all have their good points. So,
Especially
but
for what you guys do, right?
the
Like, it's
canyon
such a
work,
perfect
just we have a multi-role, but yeah, definitely the stability. The H145 as a hoist operator. A lot of room. We're on the skid. It's very stable. So that's my pick.
Yeah,
Nice.
good pick.
I agree. I agree. Good.
I feel spoiled.
That was a quick fire round.
Yeah, well,
That
we
was
don't
good.
have your
Dude.
kind
I feel spoiled.
We gotta have that, but
When you said a lot of
We
room,
can
I'm
park
going.
our helicopters in this.
I don't think he heard what you said too about.
oh, when you said you could stand up in your S92, I said you could stand up in a Volkswagen.
If I had the glasses on, I could do it now.
It's not exactly, yeah. Exactly.
Right.
How about?
Yeah, I like that one. I think that's a
like
good
that one too.
question
That's a
for
good
sure.
one. We'll try to keep these short.
Well, yeah,
we
absolutely.
went long. We went long.
We went long on the good one, lads.
Yeah.
We
And
underestimated that one.
I dare say with this question, there's probably a lot of answers that aren't going to come up here,
Probably.
but that you'll admit to. Biggest screw up.
Oh.
Will brings out the best.
And we can keep it
Man,
short.
yeah.
We'll keep it short because we're. I mean, I'll go. I mean, if you're thinking about it,
If you got one.
do it. We're about a year into our hoist program,
Yeah.
so we're still training, trying to get proficient, going through our hoist checklist. We're already in a hover. RS1's already on the ground. At the time, again, a year into it, still figuring things out. We were using Stokes baskets that folded.
Yeah.
And our rope bag, as part of the kit, would be carabiner to the hoist basket. Doing our checklist. Part of the checklist is the gear ready to go out? Yes, it is, and part of that is make sure everything's hooked up. The rope bag being carabiner to the Stokes basket was missed, and we have the internal hoist, so you can boom your package out. So we're booming it out. As soon as it clears the door, it goes vertical, and the rope bag departs. So what do you think the chances are that the guy on the ground is in the same area that this rope bag is coming down? So
In this one particular situation, very good, I would say.
So I'm piloting that day. Hoist operator says, "Hey, that rope bag departed." I said, "Okay. Did it hit anybody?" The answer was, yes, it did. Glancing on the side of the helmet of our guy on the ground, off his shoulder, took him to his knees. Luckily, it didn't hurt him. But the point is,
It's heavy.
things depart the cabin. We learned from it. The fix for it after a huge debrief was we manufactured this bulletproof bag that we put all our stuff going down into the bag. Nothing comes out, so we fixed it right then and there.
Awesome.
So lost something out of the cabin.
Well,
How many beers was that for the guy on the ground?
I'll tell you, the guy that got hit, it was, when he told the story, he just said he was, and we always tell our guys when stuff's coming out of the door, be looking up.
Yeah.
He wasn't looking up.
Right.
Never even
So
seen
I
it.
hit him.
I bet he does now.
Yeah, he does now.
That's entirely his fault then. If he wasn't looking
For
up,
him to tell the story was hilarious, even
Right.
though it could have been tragic, but it was a lesson learned for us. Yeah. So that's mine.
I mean, we could spend 3 hours talking about my experience. The biggest ones. And outside of getting on the hoist hook, having Jason hoist me, that
That was
Here we go.
no, mine was back in the Coast Guard. We were flying in Alaska, and it was the Coast Guard. Your tax dollars at work. We were out picking up moose antler sheds. You know, it was a thing that we'd go out and do, and we'd find them in swampy areas. I'd get lowered down and pick up an antler or two, you know, and we're looking for really big ones, you know, and we found this dead. It wasn't a shed, it was dead. It was like 68 inches. I don't know what that is in meters or centimeters or whatever. It was 68 inches wide, skull. I get hoisted up and things spinning on me, you know, it's catching the wind. We put it in the helicopter. We're getting excited, so we're just bouncing around, picking up all these antlers, and we found this really big single one, so we were able to land. So when I'm in a dry suit, it's kind of swampy in Alaska, and he's pulling a little power, and I run out and I get it, and I'm excited. I come back in, and throw it in the helicopter. I get back in the door, and now we take off again, and we're yanking and banking and running up the valley, looking for more moose antlers, and we're doing this. We're doing this for about 30, 35 minutes, and I'm just sitting in the door looking. Yeah, man, we're looking, and all of a sudden I feel this. The guy pulls me back in and shows me my gunner's belt. Oh, you were secured. I was not secured in the helicopter.
Man.
You know, and he shows it to me, and I thought he was making a joke, and I was like,
I'm gonna need a bit of line.
I'm going to need a because, you know, the whole. You know,
we laugh about this, but how many times have we heard that?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
man,
totally
you know,
wow.
and it was all about, you know, we lost such, you know, we weren't focused,
Yeah.
we were out goofing off.
Yeah.
You know, even though it's fun to have fun and all that stuff.
It is down
you
to split
still-
second.
You know, it would have taken, you know, where I work now at Two Bear, you know, that would never happen because every time we land and somebody steps out, even if nobody got out of the helicopter and we landed, before we take back off again, we reconfirm everybody's
Yeah.
tethered in.
Yeah.
Even if we
Yeah.
didn't even
We
get
all
out of
do
the
the
helicopter.
Checklist exactly the same, yeah, and it's a physical check in the back.
Yeah, I look at that, man. I could have just
No, it's a big
darted it in.
It's an eye-opener.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
I suppose for me is crewing. As a crewman, I was started in the Air Corps. You're a young crewman and you're going off flying army people around the place. And we were flying in Alouette, and it was pilot. His buddy from the army pitched in, and we wanted to bring him up to see his troops. They were doing exercise up in the mountains, and we were going to put him into a field beside we were doing a live fire exercise. But when we got there, the two guys were nattering away, and they wanted to put
They
him
were
on-
what away?
Chatting away.
Subtitles.
He ended up going, I don't want to put him in the field, I want to show him how cool I am, I want to put him in this little crossroad. Surrounded by stone walls, 3 sides. There's a big sign on one of the walls, and I was going, well, look, it's a bit tight down there, we did all our recce and the whole lot. So we get down there, and it's not going to land, we're going to go to low hover, he's going to jump out for the boys in the field, and all the lads can see him.
Right.
Glamour shot.
Total glamour shot.
See where this is going.
So
Hollywood moment.
I'm paddling the aircraft down. I'm going, this is really tight. Disc is fairly tight to the sign. Tail's very tight to the back. This guy's chatting away over what I'm telling him. My corrections aren't going to listen to this. So we get down into a low hover, about 3 to 4 feet over the ground. The guy's sitting there. Tap him on the shoulder. As I tap him on the shoulder, he jumps out. The pilot just touches back. Blade strike off the back wall.
Oh,
Wow. 3 feet.
On the tail?
On the tail, yeah, on an Alouette. So you've got the yellow tail guard,
Yeah.
and then you've got obviously the trigger. And basically, each one of the blades took about 3 mil off the end. Just any
this is
more,
a
it would have
shame.
been pointless. So we just touched forward, landed on, shut the aircraft down. I was 3 weeks rated in this job. I was only 3 weeks post qualification. The pilot got out basically. He lost it.
Wow.
I'm standing there going, whatever. Whatever. He goes, right, get the engineers up, aircraft's brought up, blades are changing the field, we go back. He ends up going off, I end up writing a report. His boss, which is my boss, brought me upstairs and said, do you know what you've learned today? And I said, no, I'm not sure. He says, I'll tell you what you've learned. As a crewman, it doesn't matter who's in that aircraft. When you're telling him to do something, he isn't doing it. You call it, up. And it's stuck to me to this day. This guy's a lieutenant colonel. Sure. You don't ever allow yourself to go out in a situation again.
Yeah.
That's not your job. And for me, that's the biggest screw up, but it's also probably one of the biggest learning points. And that only happened 3
Well, if
weeks.
you're not learning from your screw up.
Yeah. So it was a close call. It was one of those near misses. But for me, definitely big pickup point there. When I'm in the aircraft and we're doing something and I'm not happy, you're going to know about it, and we ain't doing it. And that was just it.
Yeah.
That was 23 years ago.
Yeah, and then all of these stories so far, all of us, I mean, everybody will say, we laugh about it, but you make changes because of it.
Oh, yeah.
And you try
If you
not
don't,
to
it's
do
probably
the
not
same
funny
thing.
anymore.
It's not funny anymore.
Try not to do the same thing twice.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Again, I had to think about that because
Yeah.
that stuck with me from very early on. It wasn't something from ground level.
And that's a good point, though. We see that, you guys probably do, with the police agency, because we have guys of higher rank. Like Jason is an officer, I'm a sergeant. We may even have somebody a higher rank as a lieutenant flying. But the rank doesn't matter in that situation.
Doesn't
you have
matter.
to respect
Doesn't
the fact
matter a
that-
damn.
Yeah, if somebody calls stop or up. or
It
whatever,
is what it is.
Rank,
It's
rank
called
is
for the
out
right
window,
reason.
right?
Yeah.
So I'll go next and I'll keep mine quick. But kind of embarrassing. We had a lady fall out of Red Rock about 40 feet. Really severe injuries again. And we knew what injury she had. Put a guy in via one skid. He gets down to her. She's in a real tight crevasse type of a thing. Realized because of her injuries, we had to get her out quick, so we were going to short haul. So get everything flown in there, get the rope hooked up, and when the guy on the ground gets her ready to be extracted, he says, hey, based on the nature of this terrain, instead of bringing her straight up, are you good with like keeping her to one side and then like kind of letting me walk up the wall? We don't normally do that. And I kind of thought about it really quick, and I thought, yeah, I mean, I guess I could do that, you know, but that's deviating from what we normally do, right? But that was on me. I made the decision, and I said, yeah, man, I think I can do that. So that'll be the plan. So get him hooked up. She's in a litter. He's tending the litter, and I start to pick him. And instead of just keeping them centered, I start, they're probably 10, 15 off the ground. Everything's going good. And then I try to bring him over to the wall. And I just moved a little bit too much. I swung him, and now he comes over and he grabs the wall. So I try to bring him back, and now I'm like just barely doing this, which it didn't take much. But now I'm like shit fighting. And what I should have done is I should have just stopped, got him under control, and even set him back down.
Yeah.
But I thought I could get him out, and what I did was I just kept coming up slow. There was a little bit of an outcropping of rock, and and he came up, spun himself around, and his shoulder hit it pretty hard. So I drove him into the rock. He protected her, but I saw and felt the impact, and I was mortified. You know, I'm like, holy shit. I just busted up my guy. I don't know what her condition is. And I can hear him on the radio kind of, you know, and then he's like, all right, it's okay, I'm good, but, you know, I need you to settle down for me, I think is what he said.
I need you to settle down.
Shit, so I get him squared up again, I pull him out. Now I'm flying back, and he says, hey, I'm okay. You know, I'm okay, but I know, and incidentally, it's funny, same guy that I put out later on in that New Year's Eve rescue, John.
So he's crazy enough to get back
Yeah,
up.
well, but I also know if he's hurt, he's not going to tell me,
didn't learn
right?
anything.
But now I'm shook up, and I got to fly them back and set them down in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of control myself and say, hey, you know what, just I'll deal with this in a minute, lock it down, fly him in there. So I flew him in there smooth, set him down. He went and got checked out. He was okay. He was just a little banged up, bruised. But I was mortified, man.
It's a bad feeling.
I thought I should have never done that, you know, and that's on me as a PIC. I should have just said, no, man, we're doing it this way.
It is what it is. That's
Yeah,
why
and I
you said the word
appreciate-
deviation straight away. You go.
Yeah, and you know that is never a good word,
Yeah,
right?
it's not a good word.
Rescue or aviation. But again, at the end of the day, as the pilot, that was on me. He offered it up, and I could have said no, and I didn't. So
There you go.
Big
Remember
mistake.
it the next time.
Yeah.
Like the next time you're in that situation, you'll go back. Oh, I remember how this went last time.
yeah.
I'm not going to do that this time.
Hold on to your deviation. We're doing it the
Thanks
way
for
we're doing
sharing
it.
that.
Yeah.
I got one.
All right. Here we go.
Just one?
Just one.
Just one.
Believe it or not, this is a good one though. So and I picked it because there is a teachable moment here as well. So we were doing some offshore boat hoist training, like small boat. We're talking 25, 30 foot, you know, just a little law enforcement, police, rescue type boat. And we're in the S-76, and I don't know if you guys are familiar much, but that thing hovers like nose high, big time. It's like 10 degrees nose up in the hole or something. And the visibility is not great out of that cockpit at the best of times. So when you're doing small boat hoisting, and the pilot needs some references, right? Otherwise things are going to go sideways. So you're kind of crabbing, you're kind of sitting in this position where the pilot can see. But when you get over station on a boat that's a lot shorter than the aircraft, you don't have a lot to look at. It's pretty minimal, right? And I was, again, fairly new hoist operator at that point, hadn't done a lot of offshore stuff, hoisting for rescue. And we get out there, rescue swimmer's going down, and he's just throwing the high line, the tag line, right, to try and get it on the boat to pull in. And he misses once, misses twice. He's having a hell of a time trying to get this rope to the boat. And so we're over station way longer than we should be. I mean, it should really be an in and an out. And as a new guy, I pushed it way too far. We sat there way too long. I ended up drifting forward just a little bit. And again, I didn't catch it. No, I did eventually, but it was like, it was game over at that point. So we drifted forward 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet. Maybe now I'm starting to catch it, but we've blown this boat. We're 10 feet off the bow of this thing. The pilot's lost all reference. And we were actually really, really lucky. So the rescue swimmer was really switched on dude. He obviously cable goes tight. I'm trying to pay out slack. He's on the edge of this boat, so he just got on at that point, and then he's getting basically dragged sideways again. So he was smart. He actually jumped. He went overboard. And we drifted way past. Pilot lost all reference. So he's in this monstrous big swing. We've got a video of it. I can show you. It's
pretty epic.
Wow. Yeah. So he's in this swing, and it's the biggest swing I've ever seen. This guy is going right because the pilot's trying to correct, asking for input from me. I'm looking down, going, "This is a mess." And eventually we ended up kind of getting some reference back to the boat. But this swing is just huge. I mean, it's a big swing. And at that point, my swimmer on the end of the line goes, "I'm done. I don't want anything to do with this anymore." So we had the quick release. He pulls, it goes flying, splashes in, and no injuries, no damage, no nothing. But I tell you what, when we go out hoisting the boats, things like that, since that just sticks with me. Like, do not. The pilot's reference is so critical.
Small boat winching is the one that
It's
can catch
so,
you all the
and
time.
it caught me
All
big
the time.
And
Once it goes under their right foot, they start getting
done.
nervous.
And you talked about that yesterday.
Don't like
yeah.
it. And automatics, the whole lot, they still don't like not seeing. So
Right.
with us, it's like you, it's in, it's out. High line on, disconnect, fall back straight away. They need to see it. You're over the water at 33 feet and 92, and you're like this, and if it happens,
and it's like that.
gone.
And yeah,
Hoist
that was
won't
a
catch up, nothing will catch up.
That's chilling, I think, for you and I. 'Cause that, like, we live and breathe by a reference point. I don't care what it is, tree, rock, bush, whatever. But if as soon as you lose everything, man, we have absolutely no way of knowing it. We may feel like, oh, I'm rock solid.
Do you winch at night for practicing over something you can't see? So we'll go out over the sea and we'll find a marker buoy. And we'll
That's the hardest hover
Yeah.
ever.
Oh yeah,
Hardest.
that's the
see
hardest
nothing.
one.
Yeah, it's hard. No
Nothing
records.
to see.
Yeah. And we're mostly land-based, so we
Yeah.
have something to look at.
Yeah.
But back to your story, when your down guy decides to eject,
I'm out of here.
you know it's going bad.
The guy was overwater, right? And this is an experienced guy too, so
Yeah.
if he's decided that he's out, then I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
imagine.
yeah.
So I felt pretty bad about
I'd say
that
the
one,
debrief
but
was interesting.
Thank God,
I'm out.
we can learn the lesson without hurting anyone in the process.
Yeah.
So that was good. Jay, you want to bring it home?
Yeah, I'll be quick. So I think for me, failure has been one of my best teachers. You know, I'm learning from everybody else too. If somebody says they've never screwed up, they're really
Yeah.
good, or they're full of crap.
Especially in this business.
With the
Yeah.
ladder.
So I'm
So
gonna go with the latter.
yeah,
All the time.
so there's a lot of things I could probably say. Probably one of the biggest things is we were in a canyon doing some training. Start to bring the guy up. Look, first guy comes up, no problem, awesome. Second guy starts to come up, and all of a sudden I hit like this magic sweet spot, and he starts swinging. And he's back and forth. I'm like, oh, I got it. I can bring him up, and then he starts swinging. And pretty soon, I think the co-pilot saw him too.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, to be brief, we got him in the ship. I would probably do things a lot differently now based off what I've learned and how I would have
You get a
prepared.
swing in
And
that cable ain't gonna help.
That ain't gonna
Absolutely
It's
not.
gonna make it worse.
so that was something
Yeah.
I can share here.
Thank you.
So I think here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna hit one more rapid fire question.
Go for
We're
it.
gonna pass around a piece of gear and then we'll wrap it up.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. So here's what I would like to do. So from each one of you, from your area of expertise, just real quick, what is a really good piece of training advice that you could give somebody that's either new or even seasoned, just something that you know, hey man, I wish somebody would have told me this a long time ago, or just a little gem of information that you could pass on to somebody.
Okay, so for me, we're just after training 4 brand new people, brand spanking new, and the one thing that we told every single one of them was don't hear, listen. People hear lots of stuff, you don't listen to what it is, and you end up taking a point on, particularly when you're doing a rescue, as you said, information's coming in, and you're hearing it, but you're not listening to it, you're not processing it. So for us, it's hear, listen, don't hear, and slow down. If you're doing stuff in a slow time and you're still at the same pace as everyone else, it means you're way ahead again. So for me, that's it.
Like that.
Mine would be I was adopted at 13 by a man who served in World War II, and then when I became a Coast Guard helicopter rescue swimmer and graduated, he came up to my air station after I graduated and got the sign. He goes, son, I'm going to give you one tip of advice, and I've never forgot it. And he says, the largest room in the world is a room for improvement. So always keep your eyes and ears open for a better way to do it. As soon as you think you know everything, I think you said something to the effect, it's time to retire. You know, it's like, so I'm always looking. Is there a better way to do it? Is there a safer way to do it? You know, and I don't. So, yeah, my tip would be to tell everybody the largest room in the world for improvement.
I agree.
Awesome, great.
That's a good one. We'll just go straight around.
Yeah, let's do it. Keep going.
I honestly think slowing down. I know we've said it before, and
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll
common
say it
thing,
again.
yeah.
It's like the new guys that come into it, and I was the same thing. They get so wrapped up in it has to be done quickly, and the person who thinks that everything is going the fastest is the guy doing it. Everyone else is looking around going, why are you rushing slow? Like everyone else watches this happen and it unfolds, right? And that task saturation when you're new and you're overloaded, the world starts closing in, right? And I think there's that crawl, walk, run philosophy when you're trying to learn new skills and get into something new. But having someone there as a good trainer, for one, who has the ability to put their hand on the shoulder and say, just breathe, just relax, slow down. But yeah, everything will actually happen. I love saying slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That's my favorite saying, but it's so true. When you just slow down, it actually happens faster in the long run because you get it right the first time. It's such an easy one to tell people, but if they really understand what you mean, it's easy.
Love it. So for me, I'll throw from the pilot's perspective, 2 things. So I always harp to my guys when I'm training them, especially at altitude and wasting, but to make slow, flat approaches with the intent of a good bailout. It's incredible to me how quickly sometimes things will go sideways. And you talk about where are we going to go if the approach doesn't work out, or if I get a downdraft, or if I run out of pedal or something like that. But it's pretty common. We see people, even experienced guys, when they feel like they got everything under control, they come in fast, they try to slow down, they run out of power, they run out of pedal. Shit goes sideways pretty quick. And if you're trying to figure out what to do at that point, you're screwed. So
Yeah, you've
for
left it
flying,
from it.
yeah, flying standpoint, slow, flat approaches with a good bailout, and then most importantly to me, especially with a group of folks like you guys with all this experience, you have to pass on what you've learned. It is a tragedy if you have as much experience as all as you guys do, and you leave wherever you work and you haven't tried to pass on as much of that experience. Everything you guys just talked about. If you leave and you haven't tried to impart that, all these lessons, all these stories, all this advice to the people that you work with. I mean, it's great. You could have a phenomenal career in all the things you did. To me, it's completely worthless and wasted if you didn't pass everything that you learned on to the guys, or the guys and girls that you work with.
That's what, when I train people, I'm trying to, the guys that work for us, crew the back of our helicopter too, when I train them, I'm training them to replacement. Like, I want to make you
no secrets.
better than me.
Right.
Yeah.
And then to where I'm replaced by them.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, what I use, and it goes for hoist rescue training and flight training and training a new fire pilot. Pay attention to detail and checklist discipline.
Oh yeah.
And so I hammer that home because I tell the new guys, especially in a hoist class, if you pay attention to detail and notice stuff and don't skip anything on the checklist, you're going to be okay. Short of an equipment failure, you're going to be okay. The moment you start taking shortcuts, especially on the checklist, that's where it's going to bite you in the butt.
Absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong, Janie, you're a pilot and a hoist operator,
I'm
right? So you've been on
pilot
both sides
and
of
a hoist trainer, so
bulkhead
I see both sides.
yeah, and it still rings true.
Absolutely.
Both, absolutely.
That's
And
what I
then
use.
when you get those guys that try to be fast and speedy with I memorized the checklist.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read it. I know it by heart.
Red flag.
Yeah.
You need structure.
Exactly.
You need structure, and that's what that gives you. It gives you structure to work inside that box of SOPs. Absolutely.
Love that.
You guys kind of hammered the, slow down, right?
Yeah.
Never stop learning. Communication is huge. You go on a rescue, come back, tell the guys what you did, what went good, what didn't go good, things that changed you different. And then probably kind of on the lines where we get that urgency, be able to say no sometimes. It's probably one of the hardest things to do, but we might have to come back in a couple hours or tomorrow. But to be able to actually say no and go back as a crew and finish it later.
Well, love that, man. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Words of wisdom right here.
Right.
One more thing.
One more thing.
So, this is actually pretty cool. Thanks, Dave. Do you want to introduce you? I'll need to introduce
No,
you.
that's all you, bud.
So I don't know if you guys, I'm sure everyone here is very familiar with the SR3 company.
Yep.
But one of the main reasons why the company was created in the first place was due to an unfortunate accident that happened a couple of years ago. And it was a result of dynamic rollout in a hoist hook. And I'm a huge fan of D-Lock hook in general from life-saving systems. Does everyone here have one? Is everyone's aircraft got one?
Yes.
Awesome, great. So I chat with Mario often from Life Saving Systems, and this is not a promo or anything. I think it's just super cool that they found a bit of a flaw in the previous design, and quickly and effectively they've come out with a replacement. Has anyone actually put hands on this thing yet? Have you guys seen this? Have you put hands on it?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
no.
right.
I've only seen the paperwork on it actually physically.
I knew they were
And
making
neither did I.
one, but I haven't seen it.
Neither had I. Until I saw Mario yesterday, I'd never actually put hands on this device. So I thought it'd be really cool if we just kind of bust it out. And again, if anyone wants to kind of research this a little more, SR3's done a bunch of topics on it already, and we can put you in touch with those links for everyone outside of global here. But I actually wanted to pass this thing around, and I want to get your impressions. I actually want to know what you guys think of it, because I think it's freaking awesome. I think it feels way better in the hand. The buttons are easier to push, I think. And this ridge that they put across the top here, it gives you a locator. Like, it really helps you to find that position, and it gives you something to push on. I want 10-second impressions, but I'm stoked with this thing. I cannot wait to get one of these on our aircraft. I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge to kind of get it on. But
We fly with that guy Murphy in the back of the
I
helicopter.
know, right? And if it can happen, it will happen. But
Being very familiar with the original one,
Yeah.
what this is for too, and great for locating it too.
Yeah.
But it also prevents. It's very hard for something else to hit it and push these buttons because there's like a detune.
I think that
They
was
were
part of
fun.
the original.
That was your-
Yeah, that's what.
So
that's
that
behind there.
new edge is part of the anti-rollout. So it
yeah,
can't
it
push the
stops
button.
things from flipping
Okay.
over.
Well, and they
So-
can't press this button down.
Yeah.
The only
I
way it's
saw the
open-
demo
Yeah.
how you can undo a locking
Right, you just
So
flip it.
then
Just
it's
like with
fixed.
webbing,
crazy.
rope or something wraps around.
One thing you got to be
Actually
concerned of too, having worked with the D-locks too. I tell guys if you're using these huts, and they've probably made improvements on this too, is these will get tired.
Yeah.
I have seen this where the spring going back won't quite get up in there, and it'll look like it's closed.
Yeah, right.
And you'll do it, but I'm sure this is a much better improvement. But keeping it clean,
I think it's awesome. Yeah, and I think, like you say, for rocks, trees, stuff like that too, like where you
So
work.
first impressions, we test these every single day. Every day we test them.
Yeah, totally.
Bulletproof hook. Even in its current format. This, however, as you said, the raised guard around both sides. I've seen the video as well of how you can open it up.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
Oh god.
That there is the only thing. I would have started my life off with a pin.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did
And
Yeah.
when I transitioned onto the D-lock hook, we're going to transition onto this next. That's a great bit of kit there. The only thing that goes on this is you. All your ancillary stuff goes on this, your static discharges, your high lines, everything attaches here, so you have a clean hook. Before that, we used to go on a high line, you'd be so fast coming off the hook, you take the high line off with you.
Yeah.
Oh no, I have to put it back on again.
Right.
LSC, like in fairness, it's been through the wars with us.
You probably have it. You probably don't get your hands on
Honestly,
this
for
thing
me,
much,
being
do
a
you?
pilot, I don't get to mess with this thing. Like you said, we check it every day. And for those of you who don't know, the accident that we lost our brother Dave Van Busberg, his call sign to work was SR3. The company is founded in memory of Dave, so that's how we
Very good.
We named the company SR3.
Little legacy.
But I can tell you as a pilot, it just makes me feel even better knowing that there's an even better, improved version of this out there. So the probability of rollout is almost completely eliminated. So yeah, for me, it just gives me a little bit more peace of mind knowing that when you guys are picking you up, that this is about as safe as you can be.
Oh, and if there's organizations out there using non-locking hooks,
There's a way to change
It's
that.
coming for you.
yeah,
It's coming for you, yeah.
$900. Put that
Yeah.
$900.
Yeah. That's a great improvement right there, that edge.
I think it actually feels good.
One-handed
Like,
operations.
Oh, I know.
But so easy to use.
yeah, and it's fast. It's Have you seen it yet, Jason?
No.
No. There you go. Great.
So obviously they listen to the customer.
Exactly.
But when you see, when you hear how fast he got the solution together,
Oh, I know.
that's the indication of somebody who knows exactly.
Well, and the thing is too, Mo was a swimmer
Yeah.
for a seriously long time. I mean, he did his full career in that profession. So he was the guy on that thing for 20-something years. And yeah,
But hats off to him for identifying an issue and immediately
Absolutely.
going with it straight away.
and we mentioned
and
before,
keep an open mind too. We'll see.
someone will find
It
it.
looks really good, but always keep an open mind. We're gonna find out. There might be a flaw with that we don't know
Well,
about
it's
yet.
in the hands of people like us who'll find it.
Yeah.
Derek, go find it.
right?
10 minutes.
Room for
Somebody-
improvement.
Room for improvement.
Somebody will eventually. So that's basically it, boys.
I think we're out of time.
Yeah, I think we're out
Importantly.
of time.
We
yeah.
could sit here till 12 o'clock, lads. if you want.
Yeah.
Oh, we could do this, but
Get into it.
I can't thank you guys enough, honestly, for your honesty, your candid answers, your input. I think everybody that watched this got a lot out of it. I know I certainly did.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
definitely.
Sure, good fun.
So
Yeah, really
again,
enjoyed it.
can't thank the folks from Vertical enough for hosting this for us and allowing us to do this. I think it's something that we're going to do annually now.
I hope so.
At convention,
I
right?
would love to.
So if anybody out there watching thinks of any people that they'd like to see on this panel or questions in the future, let us know. Because again, this was amazing. I definitely going to do it again.